and over the moon.
Welcome to the Landing Strip with Nick Lynham and Mikey Garcia, presented by From Financial.
Welcome back to the Landing Strip, as the Winnipeg Jets weren't the only ones having trouble getting off the runway yesterday. After some technical difficulties, we are back. Took a few hours last night, but we think we figured this out. Hopefully it doesn't come up again. But the Winnipeg Jets fell to the Montreal Canadiens yesterday in a shootout. As Turd Ferguson says over on YouTube, well, we didn't lose today, so we got that going for us. Got a single point yesterday, got the loser point. Didn't cost ourselves any points today on the off day. Are things looking up for the Winnipeg Jets? Let's talk about it. Mikey, how are you doing this evening?
You know, that is some glass half full shit, and I'm all here for it, baby. I'm all here for it. Jets are undefeated today, so that's real nice to see. You know what? I'm doing okay. We've had some time to, reset things here, make sure that we have a better showing than maybe what some of the Jets did, but not if you think that was a great game, and apparently some of them did. So I'm doing okay, and I'm excited that we get to do an off night show here.
Yeah, I got to give you some credit on the Habs stuff. You had suggested leading into the game that the Habs would go to overtime with the Winnipeg Jets. We got our first overtime loser point on the season. A lot to talk about on how we arrived there, and yeah, like you said, some think this was the recipe and a step forward. I'm not so sure I'm in that camp after that one. Even a day later, I think that's a rather rosy outlook of what we saw yesterday versus your Habs. But also to give you some credit, you got your wish.
Yes.
Announced today on the website. The Habs versus Jets, October 25th, 2026. At Princess Auto Stadium. The Heritage Classic is coming back to Winnipeg with the Montreal Canadiens coming into town. How excited were you to get that one under the belt?
I'm so pumped. You know what? I could just feel it coming the way that the Habs season's been going. They're the hot ticket. You got a lot of the young guys on that team. So oh man, I can't wait for that game. It's going to be a good time. I was at the last one. There was some logistical issues they had to go through the last time around, and hopefully we don't have that problem again. But the whole experience of just being outside with so many people during a game is real cool. And yeah, I'm very selfishly excited that it's the Habs coming through for it.
Yeah, no, as you know, I was hoping for the rivalry with Minnesota, but I do think the Heritage Classic has historically been Canadian, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Yeah.
And of the current crop of Canadian teams and projecting out a year, Montreal is the one. I'm glad, especially after last time we got McDavid already.
Yep.
Not really interested in Vancouver. Not really interested in Calgary. No. I guess Ottawa could be a little bit
Ottawa
fun.
Could be fun.
Where's the juice in that one? At least with the top six, the Canadians, the Habs fans are going to show out a little bit.
Oh, yeah. You're going to have a split stadium. You're going to have a split. It'll be like half and half. It's going to be crazy how many Habs fans I'm sure are going to show up.
Yeah, no, I am looking forward to it. Give me a second, actually. Mikey, hold the show for like 5 minutes.
No problem. All right. Nick will be right back. So yeah, we'll hop into the chat and let's see. We've got a few opinions already on the game yesterday that I can't wait to get through. So shout out, thank you everybody in the chat for hanging in with us here. A step in the right direction, hey Turd. That's right for today. So Ryan Thiessen 6662. Arneil's comments after the game were just straight up delusional, and oh man, we are going to get to Scott Arneil's comments. We're going to get to Mark Scheifele's comments. We're going to be getting into all of those because there's some interesting things that were said. I'm not sure if we fully subscribe to to what they were seeing and talking about, so it'll be fun to see what the rest of the chat thinks about that as well. Caitlin Doucette, 5'5", 80. The only difference between that game and Buffalo was a hot goaltender. Yep, that's I kind of see it, the same way. I don't really know how that game was a big jump, but hey, Bodie Clegg, wondering if Nick knows about the Winnipeg Scouts that are at the Blues game today, and Blues being open for business. Yep, we're definitely going to be getting into if there's, maybe some work that can be done between those two teams, especially the Blues have some players that would fit real nicely in on the Jets roster. Maddie wins. Rather have Habs fans in the stadium than Rider fans. I think we all can agree on that, here in Winnipeg, even if we hate the Montreal Canadiens, and I know a lot do, I think we all hate the Riders even a little more. So that's, I'm with you on that one there, Maddie. We lost Nick. He'll be back soon. We'll get the show going, in earnest there. Oh, this is where everyone's live now. Yeah, stressful. We're on all the platforms. We're on Twitch. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. YouTube seems to be a little more active today. Harjav Farhana says, Mikey, you have a conflict of interest. Heritage Classic. How are we feeling? I'm feeling pretty damn good about it. I'm real excited. I will be in those stands. Don't hate me too much, but I will probably be in my Habs jersey, especially if we're going to be getting some new Heritage Classic jerseys. That could be a lot of fun to see. All right, our boy Nick is back. We've just been hitting the chat a little bit.
Yeah, no, sorry about that. So once I had started chemo, I had started doing Instacart to order my groceries.
Yep.
Put in an order for yesterday, and they delivered it just now.
Perfect.
So I was getting phone calls. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? But instead of coming tomorrow morning, they came right as the show got started. So tough timing.
Hey, it's all right.
Well, we are back. Let's dive right into it as I missed some of the good stuff. Leaving your Habs versus your Jets game last night, Mikey. Let's start where we always do. What's your big takeaway?
So my big takeaway out of the game yesterday, and even before the Scott Arniel comments and Mark Shelley, before I had seen any of those things, sorry, pardon me 1 second. Sorry, I had to clear my throat. Before I'd even seen their comments and how they felt about the game, my big thing walking out of it was, man, I don't feel any better about this team. I saw the exact same type of game we've been seeing for the last few weeks. I saw a one-line, one-pairing team go out there and have no support from anything kind of behind them. And yeah, they scored a couple goals because of that, one-line, one-pairing. But I didn't see a pushback, a big change in the way that everything had been. I didn't see, a different lineup. I saw the same thing I've been seeing the whole time. A bunch of guys trying hard, but not really being able to produce, and then one line having, offensive jumps. So the fact that, we're going to get into those comments that, some people on the team thought that was a really good game and a good effort, I'm a bit confused by, and I'm going to need somebody to help explain that one to me.
Yeah, I gotta say one thing though, because it does count behind them. Eric Comrie deserves his props on this game. The Winnipeg Jets are able to steal a point. They're able to get to overtime because of Eric Comrie. Eric Comrie stood on his head in some big moments in this one. You think of a couple of the Stanley turnovers, the one in particular where he has to make two big saves right in front of the net.
Huge.
And then Elias Salmonson returns the favor on the third pair with the muffin up the middle.
Yep.
That Eric Comrie stops the 2-on-1. Again, two big shots in that first. Eric Comrie, that might have been the best professional hockey game I've seen him locked in for.
Easily.
And the Winnipeg Jets needed that. They needed I guess they needed it from the confidence aspect when Tikona Pauly brought that up. But they needed it because, quite frankly, they turned over the puck time and time again in their own zone. And it wasn't even just a select handful of guys. It was the entire D group last night.
Yep.
Josh Morrissey's first puck touch was the one right to the blue line for Mike Matheson there.
Yep.
Dylan DeMello, another rough night in his regard. Josh Morrissey on the second goal for the Habs gets beat in the corner after Kyle Connor lost that puck in the O-zone. So it wasn't even just the guys down the lineup. You were seeing it from your top guys. I thought it was another rough night at times for both Pionk and Samberg individually, but as a pair, I think it worked out over the long haul, and they were like the one pair I think you could be hopeful of or really like their game last night.
Yep.
Third pair, as you'd expect, you got the Chaos King defensively in Logan Stanley, and you have a rookie who, guess what? We know there's no shock with me that there's going to be mistakes when it comes to Elias Salmonson's game, and we've seen it, but we've also seen some of the good. And regardless of whether this team's trying to win now or not, they haven't had quality options in their third pair all year that I'll live with those mistakes to keep letting him find it, because I do think over the course of the year there's more upside there. But this was quite the defensive showing again, and I felt Montreal was the much more dangerous team. And when I look at this from like just the complete oversight of it all, as you know, Montreal was in a bit of a skid themselves. They got scored 12 goals the 2 games coming into that.
Yep.
There was goalie controversies. There was talk out of Montreal that they need to pull a trigger on a goalie right now.
Yep.
And we come in here, and once again, it's the top dogs, and they deserve a ton of credit. Kyle Connor on that first goal to take a lead in this game. The effort that he put on display to win that battle, win that puck, turn up and find Mark Scheifele.
That pass.
That pass was incredible. And Mark Scheifele this year is not missing from there. And then after probably the best shift they had in that period where you saw, or that game, where you saw everything, including a rugby goalmouth scramble on the crease where all 10 guys were on there and the puck was still loose. He ends up scoring to put them up 2-1. He kind of contributes to them going back to 2-2 a couple minutes later.
Yep.
But the top offensive guys, once again, dragged Winnipeg as close as they can to try and win a hockey game. And they got sweet fuck all from the bottom 9 again. So what I saw last night, despite getting the extra point, is the same team that I've seen for the last 3 weeks. For me, this idea that they deserve another get-right game on top of another get-right game because they squeaked out a point here is crazy to me, because it was all the same stuff we've been talking about. And all it did was lead to a shootout against a lowly Habs team right now, in which the Habs were the most dangerous team. And it took the backup in Eric Comrie to carry the Jets to a single point.
Yeah, on a night where the Habs came in playing the night before. So they're on the second half of the back-to-back. They looked like the fresher team. They looked like the hungrier team. And then you have a Connor Hellebuck less Winnipeg Jets team where the goalie still somehow ended up being your best player last night. That can't be. That plain and simple cannot be. You can't have Eric Comrie need to put in that incredible of a start just for you to lose in the shootout. Those things shouldn't add up. You should be a good enough team already that if you get that type of start from Comrie, you should have blanked the Habs. You should there should have been a better. That's the same game we've watched for the last few weeks. I don't understand how you can come out of that game feeling like, oh yeah, they turned the corner. They've really put it together now. We saw this. It's the same thing that we've seen. It's one line and one pairing. It happened to be a different pairing today, but it's been just one line, one pairing, and that's all you got yesterday. The defense right now, it's hilarious because it feels like it's having the same symptoms that the roster management is having on the forwards now. You have a third pairing of Salmonson and Stanley, which clearly you don't trust by the fact that you have next to no 5-on-5 ice time for those guys. They weren't playing super late in the game, especially when Stanley has veterans play next to him who can't handle the chaos, and you're expecting Salomonson to come in and do it. When something as simple as swapping Salo and DeMello, right? Leave that second.
I don't know.
Even for it to try it out,
I don't know.
I would give it a shot. It gives DeMello the chance to get away from that top pairing for a little bit, which everybody's been complaining about all year. DeMello's off of it. DeMello's off. He's not as good. Give him a game to try it on the third pairing. See what Salo can do beside Morrissey. Morrissey can handle, I think, taking care of the issues that Salo has. I would try it. I honestly would, because otherwise you have a third pairing that you can't play at all right now, and I don't see the point.
You have a third period you can't play at all every game this year. I think that's asking too much for where Elias is yet. I think that's where eventually he's going to go. I think we're putting the cart before the horse just a little bit here. It was one rough night, and third pairing minutes don't matter nearly as much as the top four. That's not even a defense of Dylan DeMello, who second most minors for the or most penalty minutes for the Winnipeg Jets this year. For me, I'm seeing a guy that he's never had an elite tool, but he was very sound in a lot of areas. Was able to keep up, was able to manage the game in front of him, and to me, he looks like a guy that, like a lot of what's going on, it looks a step late, and he's getting drawn in bad situations, and it's costing the Jets. So I get why people want him off that pair. I want Elias Salmonson to get an opportunity to get comfortable in the NHL. I think that's a whole other animal, especially with where this team is right now. I'm rather fine.
Is there a big difference playing
Wolves.
him on the second pairing than on the first pairing?
Yeah, with how much he's going to ride with Josh Morrissey in the minutes.
Yeah.
The second pair was out of desperation there. I would temper. It doesn't have to be yet.
I don't know if he gets a fair shot to learn at the NHL level playing with Logan Stanley on that third pairing.
At some point, these guys got to be able to step in, and we can't blame partners and wingers for everything going on.
I don't know. I get
some big mistakes himself too. His gap isn't great.
Oh
yet.
yeah, no.
Big turnover.
Yep.
I don't think it's fair to. There's progression to be had.
I get flashbacks of Jacob Trouba having to drag the corpse of Mark Stewart around, and
Jacob Trouba came out of it a pretty good defense.
You're right. Yeah. To be fair, you're actually right about that. You're right.
Let's not get too zesty on it yet. I think just Salo getting games right now is a positive thing for his NHL development.
Yeah.
I think it's fine to keep sprinkling things in, and as he gets more comfortable, he can gain more trust with his own play. As White Ice 22 Haas says, he needs to clean everything up a little bit. Handling the puck is a moon to him at the NHL level. I think we've seen some of the positives, even some nice offensive instincts when he dives in and gets that rebound opportunity.
Yep.
This is one I think that there's some patience that isn't going to hurt the player. Just him getting NHL third pairing minutes is a step up in his development curve, and I think that is good for him. That's one I don't want to push on too heavy.
That's
despite what the DeMello stuff looks like. I think that is a shuffling of the deck chairs, just like the forwards is, to be quite honest.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
That being said, it was an interesting. Let's talk before we get into what isn't going right. There are some things I think went really right for the Jets Stars last night. When you look at who was in attendance for that game, Kyle Dubas representing the Olympic Canadian team.
Yep.
Bill Guerin representing the Minnesota Wild. How do you think Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor specifically, because those two would be the ones I would imagine they're looking at the most. Josh Morrissey's going to be there, though last night would have been a tough night for them to see JMO on a year that hasn't had many.
Yeah. It has to be the one with Team Canada in the stands.
What did you think of Connor and Scheifele last night with the brasses in attendance?
Real good. They tend to show up when the lights are on like this, and last night was no exception for it. Connor had that pass on that goal was absolutely incredible to Scheifele, the way that he fought through it. And yeah, Scheifele's game overall was fantastic last night. Scheifele's in real good offensive form right now. He's on his 5-game point streak right now, which now broke the record for the franchise. So he has more 5-game point streaks than anyone else. He broke Wheeler's spot there. So yeah, Scheifele's on one right now. That's the perfect time to be going off. While we see him every single game and we see a lot of the small things that aren't going well sometimes for Scheifele, at the end of the day, the box score is, it shows his name on it almost every single night right now. He's at the top of NHL scoring. He's on pace for over 100. Those are all the things that Team Canada is, putting in the positive section of things. So it worked out real well that the night that they were there actually to see him in person with their own eyes was one of his best nights on the ice. So yeah, I've been on the Scheifele's going to the Olympic camp right from the get-go, and I think last night was a big part of that. And yeah, for Connor, we're all fairly certain Connor's going to go. They may try to get cute with it in Team USA because they're just a little weird on the way they run that organization. But with a game like that, again, having them physically get to see it, it goes a long way, I think.
Yeah, as you know, I've been flip-flopping back and forth. I think Mark Scheifele has genuinely earned it. And there's a little segment coming up at some point in the show where I might owe Mark Scheifele a little bit of an apology given the level he's got into this year. On pace for 107 after yesterday, and we talk about it. And I think Al Camino in the chat asks the right question here, saying, I ask myself, would I want 55 playing in a 1-goal game in the Olympics? Not sure. And I think that's the big thing around him as we get to the fringes of this roster. Friedman had named like 6 guys fighting for 1 or 2 spots. Mark Scheifele being in that group with Celebrini, Bedard, Wilson was in there, Suzuki was in there, and I forget who the other one was. And I thought last night was actually a really good Mark Scheifele night. Someone that thrives and enjoys the attention, and you heard the Bell Center booing him raucously every time he got on the ice or touched the puck.
That's right.
And I think Mark Scheifele is one of those guys that loves the attention and thrives off of that. But I also thought yesterday was when we overanalyze and we watch a guy so often and we see the bad nights and we see the reasons why he wouldn't be there, I thought last night was actually a night where I saw the reasons why an exec who was there watching him live would want him there, where there was one shift in particular I thought he was the Winnipeg Jets' best player on this shift, and he had won the battle in all 3 zones that the Team Canada team would be looking at and wanting to trust him. Because I think right now, with the puck on his stick in the offensive zone, there's a bit of an aura to Mark Scheifele. You're expecting good things to happen for the Winnipeg Jets right now, unless it's one of those off nights that it happens very few in between these days where the puck's just bouncing off his stick. It's one of those nights where it's just not there for him. I think right now, with the puck on his stick in the offensive zone, you're expecting good things to happen for him in the Winnipeg Jets, especially that top line is the only thing delivering any of the good. But there was one shift in particular early in the first period, I believe it was, though my brain's a little scrambled a day later. He's the last back checker where the D get beat. He rubs the guy out. He takes over the puck. And you know Mark Scheifele, when he has the puck on his stick, he's pretty patient. And instead of just throwing it up the ice, he takes a step and gets the middle of the ice on the breakout himself. He finds Kyle Connor in the middle of the ice open, and Kyle Connor dumps it in. Well, Mark Scheifele, after being the last back checker, it was one of the few times the Winnipeg Jets get on the forward check first. Mark Scheifele is the first forward checker getting possession, getting to that corner, getting in there hard, and taking over possession to now go and create on the O-zone. And it's those type of sequences that maybe they don't lead to much, but it's the type of sequence when you're in-house and you're wondering if you can trust Mark Scheifele and if he's a 3-zone player. You see that where he took over a shift there.
Yep.
He might not have scored there, but Mark Scheifele took over a shift. I thought he had a really good showing in this one. And as Caitlin Doucette puts it, Scheifele's defensive metrics are above average this year. The idea that he's a defensive liability hasn't been true for 3 years now. I don't buy that for 3 years. It's definitely not true this year.
Yeah.
Last year, he was about a 25th percentile defensive player,
yep,
which was a big step up for Mark Scheifele, but it was still a bit of an issue. This year, he's genuinely been a two-way force. And whether he's there or not, and it gets so difficult with the Bedard and the Celebrini of it all, I do see him as a player that fully does belong at the Olympics with what he's done to try and keep this team in it this year.
Yeah, especially when you consider the expanded roster and what the Olympics are, right? I think he absolutely can get himself a spot on that roster. Whether he's in the starting 12 or not, that's going to be a question.
Yeah.
That's, a lot of that's going to come down to chemistry, how guys are playing together, if somebody gets hurt, how things just kind of how the roster shakes out. But I think he's one of the 14, best forwards that Team Canada can take out there for the most part.
Jacob Von Looy asks, what is his face-off numbers this year? Feels like he's always struggled in the dot in years past. 48%, which is right around where he normally is. Choices TK also points out, with the way Bedard is playing, will it matter for 55? And that's where this all is fascinating, because Bedard and Celebrini, neither is slowing down.
Yep.
And Bedard's done it for Team Canada at that level, though at lesser tournaments, obviously as a young guy coming up. But it's going to be interesting.
Choices TK says making an Olympic team is a popularity contest to a certain extent, and 55 just isn't that popular. And if they leave off 55, no one but Jets fans would care. That's also a part of it, right? The personalities of the people picking the teams will play into it. If there are certain guys they just don't like for them, you know what I mean? Unless you're completely undeniable, unless you are like the top forward in the league kind of thing, where it would be such an obvious thing that's why you're doing it. Yeah, for unfortunately he would be a fringe player on Team Canada's roster. And if that's the case, yeah, there is a possibility that if somebody up top just isn't a Scheifele fan, they may leave him off for someone else. It's always possible.
Heads up. Who'd you like, Suzuki versus Scheifele and Caulfield versus Connor?
That was it's funny how you kind of have those two the two parallels real nicely between the guys.
100%.
I thought Scheifele ended up actually playing a lot better of a game than I expected coming into it. I thought he was going to have a tougher time dealing with Montreal's top line. So I kind of want to give maybe Scheifele a little bit of the edge there on that one. But I'm going to and again, Connor had a great game. He had the goal. He had that incredible assist. I'm probably going to give it to Caulfield, though, on that side of it. Extended his point streak to 9 games, leads the NHL with that, gets the shootout goal. I'm going to say slight edge to Caulfield, but I'll give Scheifele his flowers on this one.
Yeah, I was definitely coming in giving the edge to Suzuki a little bit on the seasons, though they're very different players in how they impact the game. Into that one, I would go Mark Scheifele over Nick Suzuki based on one game, and I think these heads-up games matter. Like, we are talking about human evaluators, and it's going to stand out in the back of their head if they saw it the same way we did, that Mark Scheifele was the better head-to-head player against Nick Suzuki. And I thought Nick Suzuki's line created opportunities. It's not like they were bad in this one either.
Also,
I just think...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I just think Mark Scheifele impacted the game in bigger moments and had more moments where he seemed to take over the play at times than a guy like Nick Suzuki. I'll let you continue.
Oh, it's interesting how, I was excited to see the two top lines kind of clash last night. And then we found out coming into the game that after the 2 losses and not scoring goals, at a rate that they were used to, they broke up Montreal's top line to start the game last night so they could spread the offense around a little bit. And I thought that was such a neat idea. I'd never heard of that before. That was something really cool. So, shout out to them for inventing that.
Yeah, we're going to get to that one soon because I see Rob Somerville brings it up over on YouTube. As Owen Mackel, I'm gonna ride the fence here. As Owen Mackel says, Team USA should be taking both Caulfield and Connor, and I would agree. Especially in a tournament like this. Like, if I'm Team USA, they've historically talked themselves into some really silly decisions with the depth, especially when you look at Team Canada. Like, I think Team USA is catching up on the top side, but Canada is still deeper. Like, Mark Scheifele is a no-brainer on Team USA right now, right?
Yeah.
Team USA has got to realize that they're one of the top 2 or 3 countries now from a talent base, and scoring goals is not going to be difficult, and it's going to be a heads-up talent matchup once you get to the final 3. I think Connor and Caulfield should both be there. I thought Caulfield was really dangerous at finding the open ice and attacking it with speed, which is a point I want to make about the Jets' middle 6 at some point today, and what airs them and where they are struggling. But I thought Caulfield was really dangerous. I thought Kyle Connor showed a bit more heroics with like that big goal where it's all his second effort, making the smart read to then pull out of it and find Mark Scheifele streaking and sticking around the net on that goal. But he does also cough up that puck on a soft check along the wall that beats the Winnipeg Jets top line the other way. And with their heater, we've still seen that a little bit in their game where one pass beats them. Yep. Again, I don't even want to beat up on them too much because they're the only thing the Winnipeg Jets have. So I got to point out that happened. Yeah. But they're literally the only NHL top end stuff. It's the only excitement we have watching games right now.
Yep.
And they generally are delivering the goods at an elite level. But let's move into that conversation about the top line split and how Rob Somerville says, why are there 2 line drivers on the first line, none on the second, Lowry on the third, and maybe Barron on the fourth line? And at Palmerline says, wow, a team split up their top line. I thought it was impossible. Will, We finally see it, or did they just give the Winnipeg Jets enough hope to keep running this formula a little bit longer?
I think they are going to keep running this formula a little bit longer.
I
And
think so too.
the thing to kind of point out too, it's not just Montreal split up their top line, right? Any team like that shouldn't be as like groundbreaking of a statement. It's the fact that Montreal is one of the other two teams that had played a top line the same amount of minutes that Winnipeg had played theirs, right? Winnipeg, Colorado, Montreal. All three of them had played by far and away their top line higher than anybody else had any combo of a line. They were well over the 200 plus minutes before going into last game. No one else, I believe, was past like 180 at that same comparison, right? So it was the fact that they were one of the other teams that were dead set. These are our three guys. They're driving our offense. They're pulling our team forward. They broke that up because they went 2 games with a loss and not scoring goals at the rate that they're used to. 2 games only. And they broke up that line because they're like, hey, this isn't working. Let's try something else. And yet here in Winnipeg, it's, we've tried nothing and we're all out of ideas, to quote Ned Flanders' parents. It's, yeah, I know it's a moot point and it's a dead horse and we're beating it brutally, but it just, when it's put right in your face like that, a team that's hot like Montreal, that's young like Montreal, that's fast like Montreal, you look at that and you should say as the Jets, hey, that's what we want to be. We want to be fast. We want to be moving the puck at that rate. We want to have a dominant top line. The Habs have all doing those things, and we're still willing to make a change because they went 2 games where they underperformed. I wish we had a little bit more of that right now in the Jets org, as opposed to essentially last night what was the old, we really liked our game. The quote that I've heard, Blake Wheeler and Paul Maurice shove down my throat for years. That's essentially what those quotes last night felt like to me was, yeah, we know we played like shit, but we're not going to talk about it. No, we really liked our game. That's the recipe for success. I don't think it is. And Rob nails it. Why do you have all of your play drivers on one line? You've got Lowry struggling on a third line, getting 11 minutes last night at 5-on-5. While they take it's a strange setup and we're so set in it. I wish we didn't have 2 years now of data to say that this is what they're going to do, because I know that that's what they're going to keep doing going forward. I know the change isn't coming anytime soon, unless players are added from outside the organization. They're not changing the way the roster is constructed because they haven't done it for, a year and a quarter now. So I don't want to keep beating on it all the time, but we kind of still have to talk about it because it's still impacting, wins and losses.
I do think what this stretch is going to tell us, and I'm genuinely fascinated because I think the Winnipeg Jets are a stubborn organization. They are the only organization, one of 32, bar none, full stop, that has played their top 2 or what they view their top 2 forwards as ice time like this for like 4 years.
Yes.
And what baffles me what baffles me is that Caitlin Doucette says this, and I'm going to push back on this entire narrative because I've heard it one too many times, and it's time to present the other side a lot more eloquently because I just don't buy it anymore. And Caitlin Doucette says they're not ready to give up on the season and worry that if they split them up, they'll have nothing. They think keeping them together is necessary to grind out points like this. Ryan Thiessen says, I think it would take something astronomical to get Arniel to split that line up. Guys, we have 1 win in the last 7 games. They were a 4-3 hockey club in Connor Hellebuck's last 7 games with this team. They have 3 out of a possible 14 points over these 7 games. Ugh. If that isn't astronomical, what is? And this whole idea that, if you split up a line, like I said, abnormal conversation to be having in any fucking NHL market except for Winnipeg for whatever reason. This idea that, you're done. You're done right now. As Gordy Angus says, the season is done, guys. They're done. 9 points behind the Wild and 18 behind the Avs. They're done. The last month, look at the separation on the chart that John Reynolds posted last night.
Yeah.
We're talking about 19-point swings in a month. 12-point swings with the Wild in a month. 12, 14, whatever it was. That is astronomical in this points landscape of the NHL. You've seen it for a month now. At what time do we not keep kicking the horse that this process is part of the problem? And you cannot win hockey games in the NHL with one line. So let's keep that one line together because it's the only thing we happens. What happens? Let's play this out because everyone's worried that you do this and things are toast. Let's talk this out. Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor had played more hockey together than any duo in their generation of the NHL. That's how abnormal their careers have been. This idea that giving them a 10-game stretch apart is going to shoot their confidence and shoot their chemistry after nearly a half decade of being at each other's wrist or hips. Let's settle down a little bit here. And the flip side that no one talks about, the reality is the Winnipeg Jets are multiple core pieces away. This team is not worth trading for to try and get over the hump. What happens on the flip side of this conversation? What happens if Mark Scheifele is capable of driving his own line with Gabe Vilardi? And what happens if Kyle Connor and Cole Perfetti, who you invested a top 10 pick in, what happens if those two duos work and all of a sudden you have two top 6 NHL lines?
That's insane.
And then all of a sudden this depth that you've accumulated that are actually bottom 6 level guys, guess what? They get pushed down a little bit because their minutes don't matter as much. If you make something work with those two duos, if you just find someone that could ride in the middle of the second group and along Scheifele and Vilardi, using the flawed but depth guys that you have.
Yep.
What happens if it works and all of a sudden this team outlook into the future isn't as bad because you know what? Holy shit, this clicked and now our priorities in the trades look a little bit different. We can expand our horizons a little bit. Holy shit, what if this works? Everyone is so focused on this idea that, if you split up Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor, they can never, ever, ever play hockey again and have chemistry again, which is just ludicrous, given how much hockey they've played in their careers. But no one's considering the idea of what if it works? What do you have to lose? You're the Los Angeles Angels with Ohtani and Trout right now, where after every single game we're talking about Kyle Connor had multiple points. Mark Scheifele had multiple points. Josh Norris, he solidified his Norris case. And they're still losing hockey games. Yeah. What do you mean that there's still something to lose? The Jets haven't been at 500 this deep into a season. Thank you, Sean Reynolds, for this one on Kenny and Rennie last night. They haven't been this 500 this deep in the season since March of 2017. Patrick Laine's first year.
Yep.
Guess what, folks? Let's wake up. Let's get out of this collective. This is astronomical. This is why the panic alarms are going off, because you've there and you've ridden it for a month. Guess what? You keep riding it? That's fine. I get what I want. You keep stubbornly going about this the Winnipeg way, the Winnipeg Jets way. I get what I want. They're going to be drafting high because they don't have it. Yep. This roster is quite frankly an embarrassment. And honestly, on this point, I'm going to say on a bit of an apology. I've given Josh Morrissey a lot of credit for the level he's got into in his career. Connor Hellebuyck, I think I've nailed who Kyle Connor is as a forward. But guess what? Mark Scheifele's been an elite NHL 1C. And that's not something I thought he still would get to. I thought he's been at his best level since Four Nations and getting cut. I didn't think he'd get to this level. The Winnipeg Jets are literally burning a season where Mark Scheifele is pacing 107 points and is a legit top-end two-way 1C in this league. Kyle Connor is pacing 100 points on the wing, and you just invested into him. Josh Morrissey should be a top 3 Norris candidate right now, and Connor Hellebuyck has stopped nearly a goal a game about what he's expected, and you built a 500 hockey team through 25 games, despite getting that from the top end. So if you're a Winnipeg Jets fan, you could take optimism from the top end right now. I think you could take a lot from it right now with the level they're playing at, and I'm sorry, Mark Scheifele, that I did not think you could get to that level in your game. Again, not quite like this. He's playing at an elite level that I'm talking about him being on the Olympics. I've never had him on a Team Canada in his career as a fan, as whatever we're doing here. The fact that you're burning that level out of your core here that you've invested into is crazy. To get it this wrong when the top half of your lineup, your top quarter of your lineup, your core players is delivering at NHL Elite 1C, 1D, and 1G levels. And yes, you lost your goalie. But as we've talked about a lot, it hasn't been an Eric Comrie problem. It's been part of a problem, but there's been a lot bigger of a problem in front of it.
Yep.
To get it this wrong and still get that level from your top half, it's honestly impressive that Cheveldayoff and Chipman put this product on the ice. They almost deserve a round of applause because that in itself is highly unlikely to do. And they found a way to do it. And they're talking like they know what the problem is, but they still put this on the ice.
Yep.
It's a lost season, man. I'm sorry. After what, if you're like, let's put this bluntly. In the last 12 games, they've beaten who? Calgary, Nashville, and who? St. Louis? Who else was in there? Someone else was in there. It's not very good.
Yep.
And we're taking moral victories from losing to the Montreal Canadiens on a back-to-back where Eric Comrie, everyone thinks, was the best player in the game.
Yes.
After the captain called a players-only meeting, that was the response, was 26 turnovers yesterday.
Yep. That was the recipe. That's what they said. That's the recipe for success.
What they told you last night, if they believe, and I do think some of this is you can't keep beating yourself up. You got to try and find positives.
Yes.
And the fact that they took a point is going to be seen as a positive in that dressing room right now. But the fact, if anyone in that room, and I have my doubts that the top guys do, but if they do believe it, and if there's fans listening to this that believe that that was the recipe, you're telling me that the Winnipeg Jets are a lottery bottom 10 NHL team watching that team. I thought the best comment I had seen on Twitter was, especially with a game like that that's on Sportsnet, where you get a bit of an audience tuning in from outside the market that isn't necessarily swayed one way or the other with the two teams playing. Favorite takeaway yesterday. I thought it was an entertaining hockey game. You know what? If you want a positive from me, I thought it was a very entertaining hockey game that Eric Comrie deserved a ton of props in.
100%.
Over on Twitter, Tyler, who's a Ottawa Sens fan, if I have that right, I don't think a single guy in Winnipeg's bottom six can even handle the puck. Sheesh, this has been a rough watch. One of those games where you ask if either team deserves a point, let alone both getting it at that. It was a very fun top-end mid-hockey game. You saw two mid-teams that are still trying to figure out what they are, and I think one of them's trending backwards, and one of them's trying to find their way to consistently ascending, which we've seen the Winnipeg Jets successfully do over the last decade.
Yep.
So you have two teams in two different spots. It was a very entertaining hockey game filled with a ton of mistakes that if the optimism is getting 1 point there, I think this thing's cooked. It's absolutely cooked.
It's funny because you had the oldest team in the National Hockey League last night, the Winnipeg Jets, playing the youngest team in the National Hockey League, the Montreal Canadiens. And in a summer, we were told that it was all about experience and bringing in that cup experience and bringing in knowing how to win. I didn't see that last night, right? I didn't see that. Where was that leadership, that experience? Where was that dig deep? It wasn't there. You had one line, the same line that's been carrying you all year, continue to carry you offensively. So I have a tough time when we're told one thing and we can see something else, right? The argument with the top line not being broken up, the reason I know a lot of it isn't done in good faith is because if the Jets are winning but not playing well, the argument is, well, you can't break them up because they're winning games. We heard it all last year. But if that's not happening, like right now, it's, well, you can't break them up because they're not winning games. That's the only thing So you're never allowed to break them up. It doesn't matter, right? That's what I'm hearing. And in that case, I know this isn't a real discussion at that point, right? It's strictly just because the players don't want to. That's it at the end of the day. It's not a hockey reason. It's not a tactical and analytical. It is a personal decision at that point. And you can't argue out of something with logic that wasn't gotten into with logic in the first place, right? This is a personal thing, and that's not going to change until the personal politics, change on it. And I wanted to touch on one thing real quick. When you were talking about, breaking up the top line, giving the rest of the lineup the opportunity to kind of, move it and see what works. If it does work, you also then become so much more attractive to free agents, right? We always hear the complaint, no one wants to come to Winnipeg. Yeah, because no one wants to play 5 minutes on the fourth line. Right? Nobody wants to be fucking Kevin Hayes or 7 minutes, I think, on the fourth. Like, I know that's an extreme experience from a different coach. But you get what I'm saying. If you know you're not going to get top line minutes, you know you're not going to get to play with a Scheifele or a Connor, yeah, it's probably not as enticing for a high-end guy to want to come. If you know that those guys get broken up and you're going to have a chance to maybe be on Scheifele's wing, that might be a little more of an enticement to want to come to Winnipeg. There are other things about it besides just the immediate today impact that I feel like being flexible and showing that you're flexible in that way would be a benefit to the org. But we just keep seeming to get in our own way with it.
Yeah, no, that's actually a good point. That's actually a good point I hadn't considered. I thought you were going to go the direction. If it works, Winnipeg still has the shine on it that they were a good team that just had a down year and they fought their way back.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Because there is that aspect, right? Like,
yeah.
My big thing is they have to be really careful. They have to get this fixed within a year, which is a big ask because they really, really likely enter the NHL abyss. They really need this pick to be as high as possible.
Yeah.
Or else it gets real dark around here for a while.
I think the issue becomes, though, Connor Hellebuck comes back and they stabilize back into just outside the playoff picture and they end up drafting, 15th.
Yeah, no, that's likely. Which they could trade at that point. As Gordy says, this whole anti-change thing, Jordy, doesn't make sense also because they're so desperate for playoff revenue, apparently, but the lack of change makes the playoffs impossible. At some point, you'd hope that clicks. Mikey, let's get into the From Financial Face-Off. Then I want to talk about more like a couple different segments of the team, a little bit on the defense, a little bit on the middle six, what we're seeing, and where this is kind of going.
All right, let's hit it. Right on.
What do you think was the From Financial Face-Off? What was the difference in this hockey game or around this team right now? This team's in a funk. What is the From Financial Face-Off difference with the Winnipeg Jets this year? Mikey, I'll throw it to you.
So last night's game left me feeling kind of like Groundhog Day, right? We're reliving the same one over and over and over again. It was the same thing we've been seeing all year. So I'm going to take a recommendation or a page out of the book from one of our listeners, one of our viewers, Harrison, HL Living Local, usually who's with us on Twitch, not here today. But they tweeted out yesterday. He said he'd like to see how the rest of the season goes with the top line only together. That's it. Let's just ride out the storm. Let's just, for science sake, for, a study, let's see how many games they actually can win with just that one top line and nothing else. And I'm kind of into it now. Fuck it. Leave them together the rest of the way. It's a lost season. For science, let's see what can they do only together, because we know it's not coming for a change anyways. And that I saw that and I went, I like that. I laughed. That's, for science, I'm in.
And I'm just going to be a miserable prick about it and tell you why I hate it.
Excellent.
It's great. It's great for me as someone that wants to see them draft high. It's great for me. If they were to do that over the course of the year and watch this thing crash and burn, it would give me even less confidence than I already do that this organization is functional. Like, if that were to happen, that is so internally dysfunctional. The inmates run the asylum. This is a country club. And it would be on display for everyone. That's how I will look at that scenario. That would be utterly insane. And it burns a year of discovering anything else about the franchise. It burns another year of trying to discover more and trying to unlock more like they haven't already. I would absolutely be losing my mind. I would have to quit this post-game show because you'd have to put me in a straitjacket by February.
Do you actually see them changing it? Do you feel in your heart of hearts that change is coming without an external ad?
I'll tell you exactly what's going to happen here
Hit
first.
Hit me.
The top line is going to get split here in December. at some point, but it's
Wow.
gonna be something. It's gonna be something like Connor, Shifley, Iafallo, Taves, Perfetti, Velarde. And think about what that line's gonna look like trying to move up and down the ice.
Oh
Like
God.
they're gonna split the top line, and everyone's gonna say, "Hey, they finally did it." But guess what? They wouldn't go to the area that might hurt some feelings. That is when I'll know this organization is serious about trying to maximize themselves, because that's what I expect. They're gonna do it at some point a month. They can't help it. It's gonna be when it's too late
Wow.
because everyone else is like waiting way too long. Oh, we can go 1-5 in the next stretch, and then we can go. If you go 1-5 in the next stretch, this season is over.
Yes.
Over. What do you mean if you go 1-5, you could try it? At that point, you've waited too goddamn long. Good luck coming back. It's gonna get split, and it's gonna be Velarde. There's going to be a whole victory lap of people like, see, Nick, they could not split up the top line and win games, when it's about the $12 million man and the $8.5 million man. And until those two are split, I hope this continues to go backwards, because I'm going to benefit out of a top pick, but it is going to show me more and more why you shouldn't trust the Winnipeg Jets. That's why I hate that idea.
I love how
I
you.
hate it. It makes me miserable.
I love how you've become the optimist one, of that they're going to actually make the change. You see it, you believe it. That's how far we've come, everybody. You see, he's the positive one now.
This month, but I don't know if it's that positive. It shows me that they have no balls. It shows me that they have no balls.
I honestly don't. I'm gonna be. I don't think they're gonna do it. I think they're gonna keep going as is, and they're gonna hope that they can steal a few points here and there. I don't see it going well for them, but I don't see the change coming. So I'm curious. I can't wait to get to the end of December here and see.
I like this nickname from Frosty, the Optimist Arsonist.
Correct. I think we found your
As
new
if
Twitter
I'm not-
handle.
Yeah, as if I'm not trying to burn the whole thing down some nights. From Financial Faceoffs, though, over on YouTube, Korsky says, is depth scoring as always? Like you said, Mikey, it's the same story. It feels like I'm watching the same game on repeat most nights, and that's why I think it's insane that there's optimism coming out of that one. It's the same hockey team I've watched for 4 or 5 weeks at this point. What do you mean things changed?
Look, with the Shifley quote I get. He's the one who came out and said that's the recipe for success. Of course he thinks that's the recipe for success. He had a great game. He scored. He looked fantastic. Of course he thinks that's the recipe, because he gets all the minutes and all the good players. The rest of it isn't bananas.
As Jason Honk says, we absolutely need to draft high, but Chevy's skewed view of what he thinks draft and develop is frightens the shit out of me.
Yes.
I think there's some honest conversations to be had there. Caitlin Doucette's from Financial Faceoff is we're shit. A little bit of an acceptance stage entry there.
Yep.
Maddie Wins. Good to see Maddie Wins, who I saw is planning to make it into town from the East Coast for the Heritage Classic next year. Says, from Financial Faceoff, this isn't fantasy hockey. And
I forgot about
I don't
that
think
quote.
I don't think watching this year's version of the Winnipeg Jets is fantasy hockey to anybody. Actually, that reminds me. I have a bit of a rant. As you know, I probably consume too much of Jets media around the team.
No such thing.
There is somebody out of market that does Jets content this year that's been in the game for like 40 years, who basically told Jets fans that they got to settle down. They've been spoiled for 3 years. John Shannon could kiss my ass. The last 3 years, we got the no pushback from Rick Bowness.
Yep.
We got the 5-game ass kicking from Colorado. And we got taken to the brink of Game 7 by St. Louis. And we're spoiled. You're calling this fan base spoiled. Imagine if that comment was said about the Leafs, who have the exact same playoff success in the last 3 years. John Shannon wouldn't be allowed back in Toronto.
Oh, God, no.
Are you goddamn kidding me that Jets fans are spoiled and they got to sit this through and just take this? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, we're still seen as you should just be happy to have a team. You should just be happy to be there. You should just be happy that the NHL even came back. That's how a lot of out-of-market guys like that, especially the old school guys, see it. It's fucking ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous to say that we're spoiled and should be happy with it.
That in pro sports, that was an honest take. Are you kidding me? That drove me up a wall.
He's also the guy who 2 games ago, before the game, talked about how big and fast and strong the Jets are, and they just need to get back to playing their big, strong, fast game, and they've got all this speed and weapons. I'm like, dude, which version of the Jets are you watching? Have you seen any of them? What has happened? Like these guys, yeah. John Shannon is completely out to lunch. That I've caught a couple clips of that show, and it's real bad.
Winnipeg Jets fans are spoiled
Yep.
in the NHL right now. Oh, I could have swung. I want to throw my phone. Are you kidding me? Spoiled. This is what spoiled looks like in this profession. Oh, whew. All right, back to the front line. Get a little sidetracked. Oh, I've been sitting on that one. That pissed me right off.
Yeah,
that is garbage.
That's insane to say that. For a fan base to want more, that's the whole point. They're fans. They're fanatics. We're insane about the team. We're excited about the team. We want them to do well. We want to see sustained success. Oh, God, no. How dare we want to see sustained success? How dare we want to see them, reach the top of the fucking league? How dare we want to see a long playoff run? We should just be happy for the crumbs.
And it was on Global Winnipeg. It's on the news. And he's done his hit, and he goes, one more thing. One more thing. I got one more thing for you. Winnipeg fans, settle down. You've been spoiled. He didn't say settle down, but basically he said settle
what the
down.
vibe was.
Settle down. You've been spoiled. You got to trust this team right now. They've been through it. Settle down. You're going to tell on our local news network, you're going to tell this market to settle down watching this shit night after night. It drove me nuts, man.
Hey.
It's like you clearly, and then you talk about like this team speed is not an issue. Age is not an issue. And yet you tune into a game and you look up any stat. You pay attention to this team at all. They're the 32nd quickest team. They're the 32nd oldest or the first oldest team.
Yep.
What do you mean these things don't exist in Winnipeg? You're someone that people are listening to trust you on your opinion, trying to cover this team, and you can't even get basic details right. And then you tell them. You tell these same people that know what they're actually talking about that they've been spoiled.
Yeah.
Drove me nuts.
It's insane.
Drove me nuts. But as Ryan Thiessen said for the financial face-off, the delusion from Arneal after the game, his comments after this game was the recipe to success was so frustrating, reminded me of time with Maurice that I thought was gone. And that was my biggest, that was what hurt the most last night for me.
Yeah.
We're sitting here, we stopped the show, and we spent a couple hours trying to figure out what went wrong with our audio. And I got in the back corner the Jets post game. And I heard that. And I was already pretty disappointed in the bounce back tonight after your captain calls you out. Now I'm just like, it's over. If that's where we think our game and our recipe is,
Yep.
It just was like, it's totally over. Like, you got to come to the acceptance.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the middle six, though, because there were some things that were obvious last night. This idea that it's just going to figure itself out and we can keep going down the same path. Cole Perfetti and John Taves got a 2-on-1 yesterday. That Cole Perfetti sent a pass Taves' way. It banks off. I don't know if it was off Taves or the D-man got a stick. But we're talking about a golden opportunity in transition that ends up on a delayed offside turnover for Montreal. Caitlin Doucette had pointed out the Lowry line hasn't gotten enough criticism. They have not been there themselves. No. And I think we talked about this before the year. And then you get into the excitement of everything and you're getting an Adam Lowry back. I think we have to really temper what our expectations are of Adam Lowry this season, coming off the hip surgery with the way things have looked for him. That hasn't been a guy that's at that level we're used to seeing from him.
Yep.
He tries hard. He's clearly working hard. He went out and threw that big hit, then has to fight Jack-Eye. Bit of a rough go from there.
I hate having to fight after a clean hit. I don't give a shit that if it's a team I like or not. I hate that shit.
Yeah. But I think coming off what he has, IFLO hasn't done a whole lot for me on that group since being put back together. Nino, we know he's streaky as hell. He might be their best trade chip at this deadline with the way things are going. But I do think we got to temper how long it's going to take Adam Lowry to battle back from what he's coming off of. And in a year where they bet big, Jonathan Taves got the biggest 35-plus contract handed out in the NHL this year with a lot of show-up-to-work bonuses for a guy that doesn't have it anymore. It's even harder up the middle when you go Mark Scheifele, a washed Johnny Taves. You got to call it how it is at this point. And a Adam Lowry who's still working his way back from a hip. On paper, that looks awfully nice if you look at names and you're hoping that it all works out. It's looking like a tough year up the middle for the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah. I think my bet on Taves being under the 40-point mark is
looking good.
Shaping pretty good at the moment. So I took some flack from that earlier at the beginning of the season when I didn't think Taves was going to be all that impactful from an offensive standpoint, and unfortunately, I'm proving to be right on this one.
At Parmalee, I'm saying this is something that is possible. Folks are talking about waiting for Lowry to get back up to full speed with his style. He probably won't be fully 100% for a year.
I think that's right.
Totally possible.
Yep.
But the Jonathan Taves thing, it's just not there. The puck dies on his stick. Defensively, he gets lost in the middle. And you see it. We talk every game, oh, they got this one good chance. Oh, there was a couple of chances. The reality of the middle six right now and the lack of scoring that I don't think is just going to turn over on a dime. They don't have the shooting talent. Like, who is a natural shooter that you expect to score 25 goals, 20 goals in the NHL in the middle six? At one point in his career, it was Nino.
Yep, a few years back.
Years ago. He's turning 34 coming up. I mean,
yep. You want it for Cole Perfetti, but he hasn't shown it yet.
They don't have the jump either to take advantage of those opportunities when a play goes in the right way for them to try and take advantage of an odd man rush.
Yep.
They don't have that in their skill set. So I just don't buy this idea that continuing down this path is going to change anything, because who are you betting on at this point? You lost Nick Ehlers. He was, in the last 2 decades, the only player that put up 60 points in that limited ice time.
Yep.
And I'm kind of done with the excuses too, actually, because I heard a lot of shit from people that, oh, Jonathan Taves was going to be a bigger impact to this team and where they are than Nick Ehlers.
Yeah.
And now all I'm hearing is Jonathan Taves doesn't have the line mates. It's not fair to him. Guess what? Nick Ehlers was a 65-point player with those line mates.
Yep.
The gap could not be more clear.
Yeah, it's insane that there was ever any discussion on whether or not the guys coming in were going to replace Nick Ehlers. It's no. The answer was no right from the beginning. There are very few players who would have been able to, replace the production Nick Ehlers gives you at 5-on-5 in those limited minutes. Literally nobody else could do it because he is the only one at that level. But there are other guys you could have seen, at least somewhat mitigated. Not a 37-year-old who hasn't played in 2 years, or a 34-year-old or 35-year-old, with Nyquist on the, downward slide. Like, this is not. It's bananas. It's absolutely bananas to think that those guys were going to come in and fix that production, that Pearson, and these are not the answer. And I can't see, Pearson. I understand it's the experience and they wanted to, really shore that up, but you also need to kind of look at the scoring goals part of things. Like, you need the production still. You can't sacrifice one for the other.
You mean 36-year-old Gustav Nyquist or
36
Nyquil?
now. Yep, 36 now.
I've seen his nickname as Nyquil going around online.
Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good. Oh, that is so good.
And you got to wonder if the coach liked that nickname as he ends up in the press box last game.
Yep.
$3.25 million. The Winnipeg Jets put $3.25 million of salary in the press box last night.
Sending a message.
We're at the point Tanner Pearson, Jonathan Taves, and Gustav Nyquist were the 3-4s brought in plus Cole Koepke,
yep.
And all of them are unplayable. I'm at the point, I saw someone ask earlier, how about the prospects? Is there anyone to bring up off the Moose? And not really the way things have been going. Like, no. They're hot, but the most NHL-ready players aren't the guys you want to see. It's the David Gustafsons, who I was always a fan. Yeah. the Walker Dewars, the David Gustafsons, the
Yep.
Jared Anderson Dolans. But if you want to send a message to the bottom 6 of this roster and waive 3 and bring 3 up, honestly,
Yeah.
sign me up.
I'm fine with that. That'd be great. Let's
Send a message.
We talked. So I'm still going back to the game the other night when they sat Comrie, right? To send a message. We're sending a message. We're gonna put out the exact same lineup the next game too, though. And like it's not. They're not sending fucking messages. You want to send a message? That's how you do it. You wave a couple of those veterans down to the Moose because they're probably going to clear right now. Because who the fuck's going to want to take that on for the next and guaranteed on their roster for the next fucking month? Nobody. So yeah, send them down to the Moose. Pull a couple guys up. Again, it's not changing the results of the game, but one, you're actually going to send a message at that point, and two, you'll get your kids in some NHL games and some NHL money. So yeah, I am so on board that. I don't know if you can tell from the way I'm saying it. This is a lost season already for me. This is. I'm sorry. I hate to be the one to break it to y'all, but like we're not winning the President's Trophy. We're probably not even making playoffs at this pace, guys. Like now's the time to stop the skid not in the terms of like winning random games, but stop the skid in just how it's being approached. Like let's get real with it.
I saw a theory last night. Again, I take in way too much content. There's some that believe that this team was built for a better playoff run. I'll tell you what, if this team squeaks into the wild card, you'll be watching 4 games. It'll be flattering to win 5. The idea that this is somehow built for a playoff run and it's just struggling to get there, I'm sorry. It's not how this sport works, as much as the chip in the chair philosophy. The Winnipeg Jets, that's where their season's at. They're going to be a wild card team, or they're going to be drafting
best.
just after 10, or hopefully there's some lottery luck. But relax, guys. We've been spoiled.
That's right. We're spoiled, and we need to.
As Mr. Angus says, Tanner Pearson won a cup with the Kings 11 freaking years ago.
Yeah.
That's how long he's been around.
Yeah. It's just frustrating. It's just frustrating at this point.
And he points out we'd have to play at, 120-point place to make a wild card spot? I haven't ran the numbers, but it's getting worse and worse with each passing time if you realistically break down the record they're going to need. And we're still seeing patience from everyone involved. It is going to be mathematically nearly, not impossible, but severely unlikely by the time there's any sort of reaction to what's going on.
Yeah, like well, we'll wait and see how they are at the trade deadline. Yeah, they'll be, 4 spots back at that point, and you're not leapfrogging 4 teams to get into the playoffs unless you've gone on a literal NHL record-breaking pace and you're winning, 20, 30 games in a row. Sure, if you're going to finish the season going 30-0 in your last 30 games, great. Then, yeah, you'll make the playoffs. Good job. We've saved the season. I don't think that's in the cards, though, is kind of what I'm saying. And that's what, Jordy is kind of pointing out there, right? It's not that they need, 120 points just to get into the wild card, but you need to be at that pace to try to leapfrog the other teams ahead of you right now because you're so far, you're just behind too many guys to try to jump frog.
As Turd Ferguson says, we can't put those vets on waivers. It might hurt some feelings.
That's right.
And at Pomerlein says, of course, got to keep that loyalty. At one point, the NHL was a meritocracy in Winnipeg. It's if you were part of Plan A, we only stick to Plan A.
Yep.
And we can't hurt feelings in this market because it's so hard in this market, and we've been spoiled for so long in this market. In pro sports, 15 years in, we're not allowed to hurt feelings in Little Winnipeg, unfortunately. Mikey, let's go into the 3 stars, and let's get out of here for the night.
Let's hit it. Right on.
Who do you got for the 3 stars over the last 24 hours?
Awesome. So at my 3rd star, I've got Mark Scheifele. Just an overall really good game. 5-game point streak. He now has the most 5-game point streaks in franchise history. Just looked overall the team's best forward, best skater last night. So I'm going Mark Scheifele at number 3. Number 2, Cole Caulfield, 9-game point streak, leads the NHL. He had an absolutely incredible game, scored the only goal in the shootout there as well. So I'm giving it to Cole Caulfield, number 2. Number one, Eric Comrie. That string of saves, especially in the first period there off those 2 turnovers, he easily could have let 2 goals through there, and it wouldn't have been his fault. He was over the top in some of those saves. So for a team that's missing Connor Hellebuck, their best player last night, I still think was a goalie.
To answer Frosty Winnipeg quickly, who says, could the Jets not waive Nyquist like Toronto waived David Kampf to terminate his contract? It would have to be mutual, which I would not imagine David Gustav, Nyquist's agent, is signing off on at this point in
they
time.
Could waive him, and he could go to the Moose. It wouldn't have the same cap savings like it used to. There's the limit on that now, but technically, they could assign him to the Moose if nobody claimed him.
I'm still surprised David Kampf's agent let that happen, to be quite honest.
Yeah, that was not a good call, not a good bet.
No, Ryan Thies's 3 stars today were Nyquist, Comrie, and Arneal.
All right.
I'm gonna go an honorable mention to Arneal and Scheifele for the all-time PR sales pitch.
Whew.
That was the formula, because if that's the formula, they just told everyone, this team's in a lot of trouble this year. Buckle up. So I want to give them an honorable mention for the stars of the evening, because that was quite the pitch.
Somewhere Paul Maurice and Blake Wheeler were smiling down on them.
Frosty says David Kampf has 5 goals and 13 assists in 58 games for Toronto last season. That's second-line material for the Jets.
God, and you're right. That's the worst part.
I will say, you know what pained me going into that Habs game yesterday, as someone that used to shit on the Habs all the time? To see Newhook and who was the other one? Alex Newhook and Brendan Gallagher would be the 5th and 6th highest scoring Winnipeg Jets forwards this year.
Yeah. That's correct. Let's not forget that Brad Lambert.
The contracts nobody wanted to touch.
Yes.
Would be 5th and 6th on this Winnipeg Jets forward group for points.
Let's not forget that Brad Lambert's single goal adjusted for ice time per 60 minutes is the Jets' 5th best average. So,
that's so bad.
They have nothing up front, man.
Yeah. 3 stars in this one. From Matty Wins, Scheifele 3rd, Comrie 2nd, 1 the Winnipeg way. You know what? I'm gonna copy Matty Wins. Mark Scheifele, I thought, was the best skater in this game as he tries to make the Olympic team in front of the brass. Eric Comrie gets this team a single point, but the number 1 star, because it keeps the tank going, and I am your unofficial tank commander, the Winnipeg way, where stubbornness will get them through. Where will it get them? We will see. I have a pretty good idea. I'm not sure they've arrived there quite yet. But the Winnipeg way is our number 1 star, because it's going to bring us some elite talent. It's going to say a lot of concerning things about the people in charge of this organization. Could you imagine, before I went out here, could you imagine if John, we talked about this before the year, where we speculated on the idea, if things weren't going well and the noise picked up, that maybe Jonathan Toews wouldn't try and fulfill the comeback attempt.
Yep.
Now, he also got handed an exuberant amount of money no matter what happened. So I would have trouble walking away from there. But could you imagine if one day he's playing 2C for the Winnipeg Jets, and the next day we get a Paul Maurice style
retirement
announcement where he announces a day after playing 16 minutes for this Winnipeg Jets team, he walks out. Do you know how bad that would look on the uppers of this team?
Yep.
Where they had a coach quit on them, and somehow it didn't get nearly as skewered as I probably would have liked.
I still don't see how people support that and pretend like he didn't just quit on us to go to a better situation.
And how bad that looks though on the org too, because Maurice wanted to walk that year, and they're like, no, you got to come back. They couldn't fire him. He had to fire himself.
Yep.
Could you imagine if John Toews has to do that to them? What is the confidence like in this upper management when they can't pull the trigger on hard decisions time and time and time and time again? Something to think about if things go that way, because that is the one thing I think about. For a guy that's lost 1 testicle, I wonder sometimes if there's more testicles in this room than running this pro sports franchise at times. It is something I've been wondering about this week. We'll see where this goes. We'll see who has some balls in the Winnipeg Jets organization throughout the month of December. The over-under is set at 0.5. Get it into your sports book near you. I'm riding an under.
Take the under.
And we'll be back. We got 3 shows in a row here.
Yep.
I'm in house for Buffalo tomorrow. Can you give me an entertaining game? If I got to sit through a miserable one, I don't think tomorrow Friday night's going to be fun for anybody.
We'll be praying for something big.
We will see you guys tomorrow, 6 o'clock start, back in Winnipeg against the Buffalo Sabres. Can the Winnipeg Jets parlay into another win here this week?
Let's see what the recipe is going to cook up tomorrow night.
What's your bet? Same lineup?
100% it's going to be the same lineup. I guarantee you it's the same lineup. Maybe Milic starts tomorrow and Comrie gets the second back-to-back like they did the other night with the back-to-backs. It might be that way, but yeah, it's going to be the same forward and 60.
I think it's going to be the same forward group, and we're going to get the Shen for Solomon.
Oh, God.
I have a feeling.
Well, we do need the offense, so that makes sense.
Snuggle Farts asks, how many bong rips per game? The lungs aren't great still. I got to be careful on those. The lungs are still not great post-chemo.
Great name, Snuggle Farts. Great name.
Frosty Winnipeg says the shows are better after a bad loss. The numbers reflect it. It seems like the people like to come
You guys like it more, yeah.
Yeah, the numbers have been pretty good of late. We might be the spot to come to after some losses. We'll take care. We'll see you guys again tomorrow night. We'll see you then. Thank you all for the support.
Right on. Good night, everybody.